No water, nothing grows. Pretty simple. We used to have engineers in this country that used to work damn hard to try and figure out how to overcome these challenges. Now we seem to have engineers that are hell-bent on trying to find ways to do nothing. Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Nick DeMetto, Deputy Leader of the KAP and a State Member for Hinchinbrook. Here this morning to talk to you about the Katters Australian Party RE-KAP. We get to recap exactly what Katters Australian Party MPs have been doing, not only in state and federal parliament, but also out there in the electorates of Traeger, Hill, Hinchinbrook, and of course Kennedy at the federal level. We're going to kick off with Bob Katter and what he's been up to this week. And, once again, Bob, he really fights for everything in rural and regional Queensland and Australia. But, cane, cattle, and making sure the coal industry is looked after, the 3 Cs, those things that bring in the wealth for Queensland, that's what Bob's passionate about. Now, one thing that he's been doing this week is making sure that he's bringing up the battle to the state and federal government, particularly around this royalties cap and this cap around how much coal can actually come out of the ground here in Queensland. And we're making quite a fair bit of money off the royalties right now in Queensland, which pays for our hospitals, schools, our roads. And the federal government's got this legislation that they're forcing through the Parliament and was voted on this week. And Bob's been fighting fearlessly against that.
We only sell 2 things, iron ore and coal. Take coal away, this country's bankrupt.
Also this week, Bob made his stance absolutely clear, not only on the coal industry, but also on the idea of the federal government introducing an EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, that overarches the whole of Australia and actually supersedes some of the state legislation that's environmentally holding back projects at the moment. Also this week, Bob's been, once again, he's got a bee in his bonnet and he's got every reason to be really, really annoyed with the state government's latest report on the Bradfield scheme. They basically pulled in the right people to poo-poo the Bradfield scheme and make sure that it never goes ahead while the Queensland state government is run by Labor. An absolute shame and a travesty for this state. The Bradfield scheme would make sure that there is water west of the Great Divide, and Hells Gate Dam would make up the first component of that dam. And the idea, and this is what Bob's been fighting for 45 years, so you can understand why he's pissed off. He's really annoyed with this because if you don't have water in Western Queensland, you've got no chance of developing the West. No water, nothing grows. Pretty simple. We used to have engineers in this country that used to work damn hard to try and figure out how to overcome these challenges. Now we seem to have engineers that are hell-bent on trying to find ways to do nothing. Robbie Katter this week has been out in the electorate of Traeger and, getting out there where the rubber hits the road and visiting some of those small country towns within the Traeger electorate. And the problem that it doesn't matter where he pulls up right now, the biggest problem in small regional towns, as well as the stuff we're sharing here on the coast with the rest of Queensland, is the youth crime crisis that's sweeping the state. We've got kids that are running riot on the street at the moment. And, places like Mount Isa, even the emergency services and the utility workers are making their voice heard, saying that they're quite concerned and actually being out on the streets at night, doing their job, or even walking the streets during the day, which, every politician in Queensland should have their ears pricked up to this. But unfortunately, it seems like the Youth Justice Minister and the Police Minister seem to be more concerned about running around enjoying Christmas carols than out there trying to fix things in their portfolios that are, set to ruin Christmas for a lot of people.
I'm standing next to another car wreck in northwest Queensland, and it's a metaphor for what's happened to our communities in terms of youth crime. It's become a real crisis. Been made well aware of it. Many people in my office over the last couple of years in tears, talking about their property, their personal safety, and these youths that run around thinking it's funny and having a good laugh for a couple of hours enjoyment, destroying people's life savings and their property possessions and ruining our community. There needs to be real consequences for them, and the government need to pull their head out of the sand and realise this. For years now we've been up them in Parliament, but we need your support as well in taking this to the government, fighting for some action, some real consequences for these kids and youth crime.
While Robbie was running around in his travels this week, he actually got the chance to meet and touch base with the guy they called the Flying Vet. Dr. Campbell Costello. Now, this guy travels around Australia and he's in his light plane checking out and making sure animals in regional Queensland are doing okay. And, there's a number of things out there that Robbie talked to him about, but biosecurity issues was one of the main concerns that the flying vet has here in Western Queensland. So one thing, there's this disease right now and it's being carried by these little brown ticks, and it affects dogs mainly, and it's shortened name for this virus is E-Canis. Now, this virus that is carried by the brown tick actually can make dogs quite unwell after 1 to 3 weeks after being bitten, and it's slow oncoming symptoms. But Robbie wants people just to keep an eye out for their dogs during this summer season while ticks are most active. Things to look out for with your dog: if they've got a fever, acting lethargic, sharp weight loss, bloody noses, bruises, problems with their eyes, and lameness, meaning the animal can't walk. Make sure you get your dog to a vet. They might actually have contracted this E-Canis from a brown tick. While Robbie is in Townsville last Friday, he got a chance to meet with industry representatives that are saying in the construction industry in particular, it's becoming harder and harder to attract school leavers into trades, but also, those other trades like bricklaying, concreting and scaffolding, they're absolutely vitally important right now for building Queensland and helping us through this construction phase that we're going at the moment in a housing shortage. So Robbie's been pressuring the state government and Department of Small Business and Training to do all they can to find new and inventive ways to get these children out of school after grade 12, of course, and into the construction industry. It's a tough industry, but I tell anyone out there, as a tradesperson myself, if you're looking to get into a trade, it's a fulfilling role, but also there's plenty of good money to be made out there once you finish your apprenticeship. Shane Knuth. What more can you say about Shane Knuth other than Shane's getting into the Christmas spirit? He's one jolly MP that seems to be doing all he can to get out there and spread not only the Christmas cheer across the Hill electorate, but get out there and talk to the people that matter most. And those people this week he caught up with were at the Herberton Twilight Markets. He was out there wishing people Merry Christmas, but also trying to find out what Christmas presents they'd like from the state government in 2023. Also, while Shane was out and about this week in Hill, he pulled into the Malanda Men's Shed for their Christmas lunch. Now, anyone that doesn't understand what the men's sheds are across Queensland is they're a group that have organised, older gentlemen and men of middle age that are looking for something to do, usually retirees, and for guys that have worked their whole lives with their hands and enjoyed the fellowship of working with other guys out there in the workforce. As you get into retirement, some of them can lose their way a little bit and almost slip into some actually report depression. This is a good opportunity, men's sheds, for guys to enjoy a share and a bit of fellowship, a cup of coffee, cup of tea, and maybe even build something in the back shed and give their wives a bit of respite. This week, Shane Knuth has been meeting with the residents of Herberton, in particular around what needs to be done and floating some new ideas about the expansion of the Herberton State School. He met with representatives there. I'm sure he met with the PNC and some of those parents that are looking to either send more children to the school and just coming up with some new and fresh ideas to put forward to the Department of Education in 2023. Good on you, Shane. Now, for people that might have remembered last term and the term before that, the Kansas Australian Party have always pushed to reduce crocodile numbers in populated areas across Queensland. In the past, we've called for a croc cull. We've also introduced what we called the Safer Waterways Bill, which gave us the opportunity to reduce some of those crocodile numbers in those popular areas like along beaches and river systems where people work and play. This week, we actually had an absolute tragedy happen up near Kumunga Footbridge. Now, this is just along the Barron River near Lake Placid. A gentleman on Wednesday afternoon, was walking his dog, and this is a place where people are fishing all the time, playing with their kids are even playing in the water. This crocodile jumped out of the water and took the guy's Labrador. This wasn't a little fluffy dog like I own. This is a big dog, something around 40 kilos, and this crocodile's lunged out of the water and stole this guy's dog, and unfortunately the poor pet didn't make it. Robbie Catter and Shane Knuth have reiterated their calls for the state government to do more around reducing crocodile numbers. And Shane Knuth right now is working on reintroducing his Safer Waterways Bill. Watch this space. Well, ladies and gentlemen, not to be outshadowed by Bob, Robbie and Shane, I've been particularly busy this week as well, and it kicked off on Monday with a press conference where I stood up with Bob Catter in front of the media to talk about this Environmental Protection Agency that this federal government right now and Prime Minister Albanese is seeking to introduce. Now, this is a concern for not only anyone in the mining, construction, but also agriculture industry, but anyone out there that's already struggling to work with the state government's legislation. This overarching department, which has been described as a tough police force for the environment that will be operating out there, it's worrying. Obviously, the legislation hasn't been put before the House yet. We haven't got a chance to read the bill and have an exact idea of what's going to happen. But all I can say is we should all be concerned, because anytime a state or federal government, or a Labor government in this instance, talks about ratcheting up legislation to protect the environment, there's always a lamb to the slaughter, and it's usually the agriculture industry. There will be basically environmental police going out there.
It is government by the people of Brisbane, for the people of Brisbane, of the people of Brisbane.
Extra level of bureaucracy, having to deal with that while doing the everyday runnings of your business right now will be enough for some people to actually just throw the towel in. 'Tis the season to be jolly, ladies and gentlemen, and I've also been getting along to a lot of the Christmas carols and events, and not only are they great for the children to come out, and let's be honest, Christmas this time of year is all about the children. We work damn hard as parents and our grandparents and all that sort of stuff and carers to make sure we can provide for our children. And Christmas is that time where we let them let their hair down and enjoy the season, I guess. Now, I've been able to attend a number of Christmas carol events this week. Got out to Forest Beach last Friday. Bumper crowds there. The Lions Club, the Ingham Lions Club, sold out all their food, in a record time. By 7 o'clock, there was no steaks and sausages left. Also shot down to Lucinda last night and sat down there with the Lucinda residents. The Christmas carols are put on by the Progress Association and supported by Blue Light. And also last Sunday, I almost forgot, one of the biggest Christmas carols events in the Hinchinbrook electorate was down there at the Rotary Park in the middle of Ingham. And we got a chance to hear the carolers, some of our young performers, belt out some of the best tunes, and All I Want for Christmas Is You is top of the list. I reckon Mariah Carey just loves this time of year. Spotify must be raking it in for her. But, once again, there was all these little community events having Christmas carols and little catch-ups. Got the chance to head out to Bluewater and Tamala as well. Well done to everyone getting into the spirit. On Wednesday this week, I got a chance to address the HIA Regional Executive Committee and talk about some of the projects Katter's Australian Party are working on currently and seek to push into the future. Now, one of the biggest issues in the building industry right now is this housing shortage we're feeling across the whole of Queensland, and the building industry is doing all they can right now to make sure they can get out there and do what they can to try and build some of those houses to get people out of cars, get people out of tents and get them into a home. But the state government and federal government need to do more. We need to make sure governments are getting out of the way, reducing the red tape and letting private industry get in there and solve some of these problems and actually produce a house at an affordable price. I don't know if any of you follow my Facebook page, but if you do, if you would have checked out the highest trending post this week, over 700 likes, I wouldn't say millions, but heaps of shares. The Lucinda shop has reopened, ladies and gentlemen. This is a small corner store that has the best fish and chips in town. One of the best, I should say. And they've reopened the shop after nearly 2 years of a change of ownership and redoing the shop. And I guess there'll be a lot of people over the summer break getting down there to try the fish and chips and check out the new shop. Congratulations to the new owner-operators. All right, ladies and gentlemen, sorry to finish this week on a bit of a somber note, but the KAP wants to extend its heartfelt sympathies and prayers to those that were involved, families and colleagues, with the incident down south this week with the 2 QPS officers tragically losing their life, and also want to acknowledge the next door neighbour that in true hero style came to their aid. Those officers are true heroes, and it seems fitting this week on Thursday in Townsville. We were actually joined by the police commissioner as well as the police minister to induct 41 new constables that have just finished their recruitment process and finished graduating from the Townsville Queensland Police Training Centre. I just want to congratulate those new constables and recruits, and want to wish them all the best and safe passage as they enter their very important role of protection of us all. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I like to finish more on a higher note. So it is the season to be jolly. Thank you very much for everyone who's tuned in the RE-KAP this year. We think this is a great opportunity to really share a little bit more of the nitty-gritty on what we're up to as MPs, to give you an idea of what it's like not only to be an MP, but what a politician actually does that works for the Kazakhstan Australian Party and regional Queenslanders. Merry Christmas to you and your family from our family at KAP. We'd love to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and we'll see you back here in 2023. Cheers.